Welcome to Building Community. As a young person, I spent many summers in day camp. While I hold a lot of great memories, what stayed with me most wasn't any single activity. It was the feeling of belonging I had while I was there. Camp staff were always intentional about creating that sense of community, and it made all the difference. As youth workers, building community often comes naturally, so much that we might overlook it when planning our sessions. It can feel like it just happens, but in this video, we'll take a moment to revisit that term building community and what it really is and explore how to intentionally weave it into your time with young people and with adults too. If you're watching as a group, pause the video and take a moment to share with each other where you felt a sense of community as a young person or even now. We all know what it feels like when being in community feels good. In this video, we'll explore one way of thinking about building community in after school programs and why it matters. You'll also have a chance to reflect on your own practice, recognizing the ways you're already fostering community and how you can continue to be intentional in creating that space in your own program. So, why is building community important? Whether you're watching on your own or with a group, I invite you to pause the video here. Take a moment to reflect on this question. And if you're with others, share your thoughts together. Why is building community important to you? I'm sure you have many reasons why building community matters for you, your colleagues, and your participants. To keep the conversation going, here are a few more ideas I'd like to add. Community building creates a sense of belonging. A true sense of belonging happens when you feel safe enough to show up as your full self. Intentional community building also increases social interactions. Partly just the process of doing different activities creates those opportunities. But as comfort levels increase, those social interactions increase even outside of the structured opportunities and more independently among participants and staff. When you intentionally build community within a group, you often see stronger participation, deeper engagement, and even better attendance. As youth workers, you put a lot of effort and thought into creating meaningful opportunities for young people, and it can feel discouraging when participation or engagement is low. But when participants feel connected and safe, they're much more likely to show up, contribute, and stay involved. And finally, building community creates space for young people to explore their strengths, build skills, and try new things. Out of school time programs are designed to support just that. Maybe your focus is academics, or self awareness, or identity, or workforce skills. Whatever your purpose, a strong sense of community can help you reach those outcomes with young people. So while it's easy to think of community building as just the fun stuff or something you do on the first day, it actually has a lasting impact throughout the entire program. Before we dive in further, I want to pause and note that there are both structured and unstructured opportunities for building community. Unstructured community building often happens naturally in the day to day interactions you already have with young people, and it's just as important for creating a welcoming, connected environment. Think about the moments while greeting participants when they arrive, chatting during a craft activity about the latest TikTok trend or your weekend plans, or introducing a new person to the group. These small, informal moments of connection matter just as much as the planned activities. But for this video, we'll be focusing on the structured activities. And when we say structured, we mean intentional, planned activities that are built into your schedule. These can be standalone activities or something that you do at the start or end of an activity to help set the tone or bring the group together. So what are structured community building activities? These are the terms we're going to cover, and they're likely familiar to anyone with experience in youth work. Each term represents a type of activity with a specific purpose, and there are many considerations for why and when you might choose a particular activity. You'll notice that some activities can serve multiple purposes. For example, a name game is usually an icebreaker, but not every icebreaker is a name game. As we go through these terms, I'll share a few brief examples, but in reality, there are countless examples from your own experience, and your colleagues will likely have some great ideas to share as well. We're going to start out with name games. As is clear in the title, these are activities that help participants to learn each other's names. That too is the purpose of the activity, and you typically would lead name games when a group first comes together or when new folks are joining the group. Things to think about with name games, but certainly not required, are opportunities for repetition. That is why so many people use the I'm going on a trip type name games where people share their name, where they're going, and what they would bring, all starting with the first letter of their own name. And as they do introductions, the next person introduces all of the people before them, where they are going, what they're bringing, before introducing themselves, until the last person introduces everyone. All name games, but especially that type of name game where it gets increasingly more difficult, it's good to give permission that it's okay to ask for a reminder. The goal isn't to be perfect, but is to have fun way for folks to hear and say each other's names a number of times. Another tip is considering visuals. Thinking about decorating name tents or name tags. This is also great for folks who might be a bit quieter but like to express themselves through colors or doodling. Encourage them to draw a few things that represent them or things that they like to do. Seeing a name written will also be helpful for some people who are more visual. Another variation of name tags could also include having everyone write out the phonetic spelling of their names. Growing up where there wasn't a lot of Jocelyn's, I don't think I met another Jocelyn until I was in high school. So I would have all types of variations that people would say. We know how important it is for people to be called by their name, the name that they want to go by, and with so many languages represented in community, name spellings aren't always clear for everyone, so that would be helpful as well. Another practice we see a lot of sharing your pronoun as we share your name during introductions. It is important to create that opportunity because not everyone present presents as what their gender is. If you want to know more about the importance of pronouns, check out the quick guide to using pronoun video. While sharing pronouns is great, you should not force people to share their pronouns. It should be optional. Some people don't feel comfortable sharing pronouns, and some folks who may be trans or non binary but haven't shared that yet with their friends, acquaintances, or family may feel less connected if they feel they need to share a pronoun that they don't identify with because they don't yet know if they feel safe enough to share. So I mentioned a couple of examples, but there is the standard share your name and answer of the prompt for the day. A fun question like, what's your favorite ice cream? Or even better, a question that links to the topic for the way you will spend the time together that day. For example, if you're talking about going to do something outside, you may ask folks to share their favorite outdoor activity. Another name game that is fun is a ball toss type game. You toss the ball to the person whose name you say, and then they do the same until everyone in the circle has had the ball thrown to them. There's lots of variations to this game that can make it a bit sillier, like keeping the same order as you toss in across the circle back and forth. All the folks then add a second ball, or timing it to see how fast you can get everyone to have the ball while sharing their names. The last variation for a name game I'll share is sharing about the meaning or what you like about your name or nicknames you have. This is a great way to get to know each other more deeply. Some people are named after a family member. Me, my mom found my name in a magazine, so not terribly meaningful, but my middle name is a combination of my grandmother's. Not everyone knows their name origin, however, so making it broad by allowing nicknames or what they like about their name is helpful. Again, the number of name games you can come up with is endless and can be as simple as introductions, can be fun and interactive, or meaningful in building deeper connections. Next up, we're going to talk about icebreakers. Again, a name game itself can be an icebreaker, but not all icebreakers are name games. Definition of break the ice is to make people who have not met before feel more relaxed with each other. But icebreakers really are for any group, familiar or new, and help set the tone of community within the group and help people feel more comfortable with each other. They can be verbal and or physical or a combination of both. Icebreakers can include opportunities to get to know new people and to get to know people on a deeper level. While the goal is to build relationships and become more comfortable with folks, especially if they're shy or have social anxiety, icebreakers can feel a bit uncomfortable. Thinking about the type of icebreaker you do is important. A group that is new to each other may benefit from a more superficial icebreaker to start. A more established group may feel more comfortable being silly or going deeper. Either way, having options to pass or participate to their comfort level is important. Icebreakers can help create a positive learning environment, raise energy levels, and is a great for transitioning from one type of activity to another to prepare people for what's to come. Depending on the gathering, whether you're introducing a new topic to learn or bringing people together around a certain theme, it is great if you can link the topic to the icebreaker. It helps get folks into the mindset of what's ahead and to be focused and connected to the information. Depending on the icebreaker, it can provide opportunities for people to develop important social skills like communication and teamwork. The key is to consider your goals and the group you're working with, such as size, demographics, and knowledge levels. Icebreakers should be simple, appropriate, and comfortable for participants. The examples here, although not by any means an exhaustive list, include an example from before. Share your name and answer the prompt of the day. Human bingo or human scavenger hunt, where people informally mingle looking for traits represented in the bingo card or scavenger list. Or the good old two truths and a lie. All my neighbors, or some people call it a big wind blows, or other names as well, where there's a circle and one person in the middle says something that applies to them, like all my neighbors join me who were born out of state. If that applies to others in the circle, they go to the middle and they find a new spot in the circle after going to the middle, leaving a new person in the middle. These are all examples of simple activities that allow folks to participate or share at their comfortable level and interact with the group. So, what are energizers? Again, as the name would suggest, energizers help participants get energized. Sometimes you can anticipate the need to build an energizer into your schedule, and other times it's good to have a plan that you can just pull out of your bag of tricks when you see a need. But when might you need an energizer? Well, at the beginning of the day or after lunch, the last hour of the day, maybe it's Monday morning or a Friday afternoon. Sometimes the content is boring for young people. That happens. Or the content doesn't feel relevant. They're not sure why they should learn it. Maybe you've been talking for a long time without interaction, or if you notice that a participant is losing attention, and students maybe sometimes are tired or didn't sleep well. Sometimes the room is too hot or too cold. There's many reasons that folks may need a brain or body break. Energizers can be as simple as having folks stand up and do a few stretches. It could be on their own, or you or another young person could lead the stretches. It might be a brain break activity that doesn't even involve physical movement, but switches things up a bit. It could be that ball toss name game from before. The fun, fast pace of tossing the ball around can also be used as an energizer. Or if you've ever played the game Entourage, the massive rock, paper, scissors competition where everybody plays against another person simultaneously, and if you don't win that round, you then follow the person that you beat or who beat you, and you cheer them on. Eventually, the whole room splits into two final contestants playing each other, and everyone else is cheering on one of the players. Or the game People to People, where you call out a body part like elbow, and everyone has to find another person and touch elbows. Then you call toes or pinkies, heels, and the pair continue to try and connect with those parts, and then you yell people to people, and they have to find a new partner. These type of activities are really meant to break things up and boost energy. And energizer can be also an icebreaker. If, for example, in the people to people activity, you have folks introduce themselves to each other and or a question while they go toe to toe or elbow to elbow. If that is how you want to get people comfortable with each other. So many of these examples might be familiar to you, whether it's Energizer or from the other topics that we'll talk about. But if they're not, encourage you to check, YouTube or the internet. There's all kinds of good descriptions of new activities or opportunities to see them happening in practice. The next type of activity is group dividers, specifically activities and or strategies to create varied groups of participants. Of course, one grouping strategy is to let folks choose who they want to work with. There are benefits to having people pick their teams or partners, and there are a lot of important reasons to intentionally create groups randomly or through an activity. Working with different participants allows youth to get to know others better that they might not typically sit by, find interests, or hear new ideas from, and practice problem solving and practice social interactions. This also helps avoiding groups getting so cliquey that separation interferes with the group dynamics. If you have been in training with me before, you might have seen that I like to split groups up using a deck of cards. If I need 4 groups of any size, I will have folks split up by suits. If I need groups of 2, 3, or 4, I'll hand out cards and have people find the other matching cards. Twos with twos, kings with kings, etc. This just involves a little planning beforehand to organize your deck for the type of groupings you want. Another fun way to get into trios or duos is to ahead of time think of pairs or trios and write that out on cards that each person gets, and then they have to find their team. Examples of trios might be Blossom, Buttercup, and Bubbles as the Powerpuff Girls. Or you could use names of a current day boy band, or if you're doing duos, you might think of things like Peanut Butter and Jelly or Batman and Robin. They just roam around until they find their match. Sometimes things like this can be a bit of an energizer or a transition activity as well because folks are moving around. Another activity that can also serve as a grouping strategy is where you have folks line up by birth month or height. An extra challenge could be for them to do it without talking. That in itself is an activity that could be an icebreaker or a team builder, which we'll get to next. But after the line is created, you can split the line, where the folks on either end become a pair, and then the second one's in, and next, and so on. You just have to have the line follow, and people will split in half. Team builder activities involve social interaction and collaboration, often around a shared goal. Often involves skills like communication, coordination, and or trust. Some people love team builders, and again, others might be out of their comfort zone with team builders. But the purpose is to create intentional activities that allow groups to practice skills we know are really important. Things like communication, collaboration, social dynamics, problem solving, and building connections. You can really do team builders at any time, but you want to scaffold the level of interaction to meet the readiness of the group. Thinking about things like age, ability, and how complex the instructions or activities are. Having challenge to work through is great, and we also don't want to set folks up for a miserable experience. Examples include the challenges where teams get supplies like dried spaghetti and mini marshmallows and see which team can build the biggest tower. There are different variations depending on supplies. We've done one with newspaper and blue tape where teams have to build a bridge sturdy enough to hold a book, for example, or a group scavenger hunt or trivia or some other type of problems to solve. Or it might be the group as a whole. The activity is shape builder using a long rope tied at the ends, long enough that everyone can stand holding the rope around the circle. Participants are blindfolded and the facilitator yells out a shape like square or triangle, and the group has to form that shape. As a group, they figure out how to make the shape without letting go of the rope. One key element of team builders is incorporating time at the end for some reflection. Because team builders allow participants to practice some type of skill, having time to connect the activity to the skill is really important. Questions like, what did you notice about this activity? Or how did it feel when you were trying to make the shape where you were blindfolded? What made it challenging? What made it go well? If we tried it again, what would you try differently? Things like that. If you can reiterate the skill in the learnings or takeaways, it makes it a more meaningful experience. All right, now it's your turn. If you are watching this on your own, you can skip ahead. If you're watching in a group and have 30 minutes to do this part, either now or in the near future, this is a great way to learn from the expertise of your team. First, find a fun way to get into groups of 2 or 3 people. And then each small group will identify an activity they want to lead. It can be a go to activity from your program or something new you want to try. In this example, we're talking about maybe leading the human knot. Each person in the team will have a role. Maybe one person's going to introduce the activity and another person is going to lead the reflection. And then you prepare to lead the activity and include your thoughts and time consideration. You want to make sure to hear from others about what type of activity they think it is, or you could share what you think it is, possible modifications, or tips and tricks. Now that you've had a chance to consider this type of framing for activities around building community, download the Building Community handout and do a quick audit of your go to practices. What are the activities you enjoy leading? What do your young people always ask to play? Write those down and think about the purpose of those activities. And then after completing that audit, you can take a moment to consider, where'd you like to grow your practice? Maybe you'd like to find a few new energizers. whether to lift the energy in the room or to bring it down to a calmer space. You might also want to think about skills you're hoping to strengthen in your program and look for icebreakers or team builders that help practice and reflect on those skills. And finally, don't forget to recognize your strengths. Each of us has a reason we choose this work, and for many, it centers on connection. You already bring strengths to this area. Be sure to honor and celebrate them as you continue the work. Thanks for all you do.